Welcome to One True Champion. Kristen Keith alongside Wendell Barnhouse here to bring you up to speed on what's going on in the Big 12. Baylor defeated Northwestern State 70-6 on Saturday. And by the numbers, you wouldn't have been able to tell that the Bears were without Heisman hopeful quarterback Bryce Petty and their top 4 wide receivers. That was due in large part to true freshman wide receiver K.D. Cannon. He had a breakout performance, and Wendell, you have a nickname for him, don't you?
Yeah, and here's some dad humor. How about KD shot out of a cannon? That's really funny. Hey, he had a touchdown catches of 50, 81, and 42 yards all in the first quarter. That tied a school single game record. And it looked like he was running heats for the 60 meters at the Big 12 Indoor Track and Field Championships. And as you mentioned, Kristen, he's a freshman. Cannon was hooking up with sophomore Seth Russell, who got the start in place of Petty. In just the first half, Russell threw for 438 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Seth Russell is one of many quarterbacks from the league who had an impressive week 2. Oklahoma State's backup also emerged this week when J.W. Walsh was injured in the first quarter of the game. Wendell, which gunslingers earned their Big 12 helmet stickers for the week?
Well, K-State's Jake Waters is known more for his arm than his legs, but he ran for a career-high 138 yards as the Wildcats rallied in the second half to ruin Iowa State's Big 12 opener. West Virginia senior Clint Trickett, he was 35 of 40 for 348 yards and 2 touchdowns as the Mountaineers routed Towson 54-0. And as you mentioned, it looks like junior Dax Garman might be Oklahoma State's starter for the near future. He replaced J.W. Walsh. As you mentioned, he got hurt in the first quarter on Saturday. Walsh might or might not be sidelined for a number of games. Garman, who had not played a game since 2009 in high school, he threw for 244 yards. That's the most ever for a Cowboys quarterback in his first game.
Here's a look at the final scores from Week 2 in the Big 12. Huge wins for Oklahoma, Baylor, and West Virginia, but it's not necessarily the score that matters. Which team walks away from Week 2 with the most significant win?
Well, Kristen, I think Kansas State, they gave up 28 straight points at Iowa State. They trailed by 15 points late in the first half before rallying to win that Big 12 opener. That was a huge win for the Wildcats. Texas Tech faces a big test with Arkansas in Lubbock this week. The Red Raiders are 2-0, but they played another sloppy game, and they escaped El Paso with a scary 30-26 victory over Utah.
Moving along to some women's sports, the Big 12 has 2 ranked teams in volleyball and 3 in soccer. They had a full slate of games this past weekend. What were the results?
Well, it was a great weekend for the Big 12 in soccer and volleyball. In soccer, Big 12 squads went 16-2 with 12 shutouts and allowing 1 goal or less in 16 of the 18 contests. 8th ranked Texas Tech improved to 5-0 with a 1-0 double overtime defeat of Portland State. Hannah Devine had the game winner, and she leads the team with 5 goals. The Red Raiders are 5-0 for the 4th time in school history. And Big 12 volleyball teams went 21-3 over the weekend, with 2 of those losses coming in tournament finals. 16 of the 21 victories were sweeps, and number 3 Texas went on the road and beat number 11 Florida in 4 sets to improve to 4-0 for the season.
Before we wrap things up, we leave you with this feel-good story for the week.
Well, Oklahoma senior linebacker Caleb Gastelum, he had his first sack and his first interception in the Sooners' victory at Tulsa. Now that earned the walk-on, the game ball from Coach Bob Stoops, and a scholarship.
Caleb saved us 7 points at the end, so he can wait. He gets a game ball and a scholarship.
It doesn't get much better than that. That's a wrap for today. We'll see you next week for another edition of One True Champion.